Friday, everybody. Whatever's in the background, turn that off, please, because I'm hearing myself with an echo. If you guys don't mind, that would be great. If you can make, there you go. Nice. A summer Friday before our multi-week hiatus to enjoy a little downtime with the families. And we have breaking news out of the gate. But first, good morning, Tyrone, live in Philadelphia. Couldn't quite make it into New York again, which is the 18th time in the last time. That's happened a lot. In any event, good morning, Tyrone. How you doing, buddy?
Well, hello, Craig. I'm doing very well. The sun is shining. It's a wonderful Friday, and I'm looking forward to this summer break.
What do you got, a painting of AI over your right shoulder? Is that what I see there?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Allen Iverson right there. That's right.
Who was that painting by numbers? Who did that?
What are you talking about? It was a great local artist in the city of Philadelphia. I have quite a few pieces in different places, and this is my favorite one from AI.
Can you pan up so I can just see the face so I can figure out who's pretending to be AI in that painting?
It's AI. It's AI.
You know what that is, by the way? I knew it. That's Josh Hart.
No, it's
That's
not.
Josh Hart, as if he played for the Sixers. Tell your artist I want 5 of those immediately, but I want the jersey changed to the right one, the number 3 for the New York Knicks.
She wouldn't do it. She wouldn't do it. She's a diehard Sixers fan.
All right. In any event, breaking news as we come here today. And that breaking news is the fact that the New York Mets have fired their manager, Mendoza. Carlos Mendoza is out. Andy Green takes over, as you see right there. He was a manager previously in Major League Baseball. He'll be the interim manager now for the rest of the season. Not the guy I would have picked. We'll get to that in a second. But this is kind of like, I don't know, throwing the band leader off the Titanic because the Titanic is sinking. If you're look, there's a couple of aspects to this. Number one, it's long overdue. He should have been fired around the same time that the Phillies fired Rob Thompson for Don Mattingly because things got out of control very, very quickly. That being said, I know a lot of people are yelling and screaming today, well, it's great they did it, but they should have did it 2 months ago. Well, they didn't do it 2 months ago. It had to happen. So you had a choice here. You could have done it today, which they did. You could have waited till the All-Star break when you have the natural lull, which is when a lot of teams make decisions like that. Or in theory, you could have let him just be beaten down every day for the next 3.5 months and be the whipping boy, for lack of a better term, for the New York Mets franchise. I will give Steve Cohen, the owner of the Mets, credit for this. They didn't do the latter. They recognized that they were not going to pick up his option for next year. They clearly had already decided that. So if you know for a fact you're not bringing him back next year, and this thing has gotten completely off the rails to a level of being embarrassing, are you a good enough guy to put the manager out of his misery? Because say what you want about Carlos Mendoza, who obviously is a failed manager now, although he leaves New York with a winning record and did go to an NLCS with them 2 years ago, he was not coming back. It did not work. So are you going to make that guy just take the slings and arrows every single day of a failed season, or do you do the right thing, which is, put him out of his misery? Like if you come across a deer that you accidentally hit with your car in the middle of the road, but the deer is still alive. If you call 911, what the police do by rule is 2 bullets in the back of the head. They put the deer out of its misery. That's what the Mets did. And I know I'm going to be alone on an island on this. It was the respectful thing to do to Carlos Mendoza.
No, you're absolutely right about that. At this point, it was over, and it was almost cruel to him because we know it's not his fault, but you had to make the change. They should have made it sooner, but it's better to do it late than never. And if you respect the guy at all, you put him out of his misery because knowing you just can't do it. You can't do that for an extended period of time with a manager like that, and it's actually a good step for the Mets. I don't know if the previous ownership would have done it this well.
Well, listen, it's the right thing to do. The season is a wrap. They're acknowledging now that the season's over, obviously. The next guy that all the attention is now going to be on, rightfully so, is David Stearns, their general manager. My gut is the reason they also didn't fire Mendoza earlier this year is because he, like a lot of these failed projects with the Mets, was a David Stearns hire. That was a guy that the GM, who's now in his fourth year or going into his fourth year, wanted to hire as the manager. So look, it's convoluted, it's messy. Here's all you need to know: the New York Mets suck. Right? I mean, that's it. Like, the New York Mets are a bad baseball team. No joke. In 5 games against the Cubs and the Phillies, prior to last night's game, which they also lost, and they got swept for the season by the Cubs, the New York Mets let up 50 runs in 5 consecutive games combined. That's absurd. And I say that because, put that into context of what a normal baseball game looks like, it tells you that the New York Mets are non-competitive, specifically from a pitching standpoint, and they don't have the bats in that lineup to come back and win games. And you get the feeling when you watch the Mets that as soon as they're down 1-0, it's a wrap. That's the feeling you get. I'm sure you've had teams like that in Philadelphia where, the offense is kind of brutal. And, every single pitcher's like, man, if I give up a single run, we're going to lose the game. That's what the Mets feel like right now. Last night, they lose in extra innings. They've now lost 6 consecutive games. They're 13 games under 500. And this season is officially over now. So Mendoza is the final nail in the 2026 Mets coffin.
Craig, I got to ask you this question as a former Mets fan, as you growing up a Mets fan, and because I actually have a lot of respect for Mets fans because of all they've been through.
Yeah, a lot of losing.
Well, I'm saying for a lot of years, even though they've been loyal, at what point, because I thought the ownership change was going to be the change, at what point do the Mets, not in the fans' hearts, but on the field, do they ever for a long period of time get close to the Yankees? They still have only made the playoffs, I don't think maybe once, back-to-back years in their history. They've never put together 3 straight playoff years, even with the extended wild card. When can the Mets in New York City with a billionaire owner actually be a team that's good for more than 2 years at a time? When the Phillies have done it, the Yankees have done it, Washington's done it, Boston's done it, every team around them in the geographically have done it, and the Mets never have in their history. Why? Why does it always end up like this if you're the Mets?
It's a great question because now you're talking about multiple ownership as well. And it's been 25 years since the Mets went to the playoffs in back-to-back years. You're right about that, which is beyond embarrassing. It's interesting, though. It's the whole thing's interesting, obviously, that they've been that bad for so long. And when they have any level of success, it is very, very short-lived, right? And I don't have an answer for you other than, the Mets. Look, you've been through to Philadelphia, the down days, the down years, the down decades. The fans show up. Now, I remember when I first got to Philly, it was 1993. So I showed up to Philadelphia in a World Series run. That was, of course, the Macho Row, the Jim Fregosi Phillies. They go to the World Series. They lose on the Joe Carter home run, of course, to Mitch Williams. Then you have the strike the year after that. And how long did it take the Phillies to get back to being competent or having a team that Philly fans thought, wow, this team can actually win? And the reason I ask you that is
14 years.
Good. Right, a long time.
14 years.
And the reason I bring that up is if Philly's interesting compared to New York. Met fans are going to stop showing up. All right, so Met fans last year were challenged by their owner. I'm spending the money I said I would spend. You need to start showing up. And Met fans are like, you know what, he's right. And Met fans set a record last year. Over 3 million people went to Citi Field. That's the first time in the history of the Mets they've eclipsed the 3 million number mark. So they have shown up. Obviously, 2 years ago, they have the great second half. They go to the NLCS. It comes to an end. Last year, they have the great first half. They fall apart in the second half, and they miss out to the playoffs by losing to the Cincinnati Reds, if I remember correctly, at the end of the season, right? But it's interesting because when I got to Philly in 93, obviously, World Series run, 94 the strike, 95, bad baseball for a while. You could give away sections in Philadelphia at the Vet at the time, and nobody wanted the tickets. Philly's a different sports town than New York. I'll tell you something else. When I got to Philly, I'll tell you more after the break. It's a really interesting comparison, but right now, the New York Mets have a new interim manager. Hard Show. Tyrone Johnson here as well. Again, the New York Mets make news today. Biggest story in sports for the moment. Carlos Mendoza is out as the manager of the New York Mets. Most Met fans think too little too late. They're probably right. But at least they did something, I suppose, after being swept at home against the Chicago Cubs and being swept for the season series against the Chicago Cubs. And really, outside of last night, in which they did compete and go to extra innings, and then PCA, who, by the way, the Mets traded PCA before David Stearns was the GM to get Javi Baez, if I remember correctly, who's the guy that thumbed down the crowd. So it's just a reminder of just how bad things have been. PCA destroyed the Mets in this particular home series, and is obviously a damn good player for the Cubs regardless overall. But he's out. But it's funny, the Philadelphia comparison's interesting. When I got to Philly in '93, Phillies, as I said a couple times already, they go to the World Series. I'm like, well, this might be fun, in the summer doing sports talk in Philadelphia. And then I'll never forget my boss at the time, who has since passed away, who's a legendary a-hole and program director, a guy named Tom Bigby.
Hired me.
We had a meeting. He hired you as well, right?
Yeah.
A really bad guy, but really is the singular most responsible person for my career changing in a even better direction than it started off, from teaching me how to do radio the right way. But he was like a tough love kind of guy, right?
Yeah, he was.
In any event, I didn't like the man, but he was definitely a part of my success story for sure. In any event, we had a big meeting. In my 5 years at WIP, it was the only time we ever had all hands on deck meeting. So for those of you that know Philadelphia, it was me. It was a guy named Chuck Cooperstein, who was the midday host at the time at WIP, became the Dallas Mavericks play-by-play announcer and a big college basketball announcer. I think SMU maybe, or whatever, maybe Texas and Westwood One. There was a guy named Jody McDonald, who's a legendary sports talk figure in New York and in Philadelphia. There was an afternoon show called Steve and Mike, the S&M show, which for my money was still to this day the best show WIP has ever had, myself included. Right. And then there was a morning show with Angelo Cataldi, Al Morgani, and Keith Jones, et cetera, right? So we're all in a conference room. And this is where this is the first year, essentially, of WIP. And it became a legendary station that most other stations tried to copy from a combination of guy talk / sports talk, because they did it better than anybody else, all right? Because a lot of people blame me for being the impetus of getting away from X's No sports talk in this country, because I was the youngest guy in America doing full-time sports talk in Cleveland when I was 22, and then in Philadelphia when I was 23. And I learned how to do it because of Tom Bigby's tutelage. And there's people to this day that blame me that sports talk is now more guy talk than sports talk. Fine, you blame me all you want. It's all good, all right? So in any event, Tom's explaining to us how to do his version of sports talk radio. I'll never forget this. And he goes, rule number 1, if I hear anybody take a call about the Philadelphia Phillies, you're fired. Nobody cares about baseball in Philadelphia. Rule number 2, if anybody takes a phone call about the Philadelphia 76ers and it's not the post-game show, you're fired. Nobody cares about the Sixers in this town. And that's pre-AI. Just so you know the context of this, okay? Number 3,
care what they are.
If anybody takes a phone call about the Flyers, not only are you fired, I'll make sure you don't work anywhere in America. Because we don't care about hockey in Philadelphia.
And we had the game.
All you can talk about are the Philadelphia Eagles. I want to hear Eagle talk every hour. I want Eagle talk every week. I want Eagle talk, right? And that's what a WIP was like in the mid to late 90s, which is why WIP then became Eagle talk most of the time and top 10 lists the rest of the time. That's what the station became, okay?
Yeah.
So, but to finish that meeting off, Chuck Cooperstein raises his hand in that meeting. Now, if I've only been there a month or two, I'm certainly not going to speak in that meeting, okay? And I'm doing nights with a guy named Gary Cobb, better known as G Cobb, who is a linebacker for the Eagles, the Cowboys, and the Lions, and is a good man. He's still in Philadelphia, okay? So Chuck Cooperstein raises his hand, and he says, but Tom, if SMU beats Texas Tech this week and becomes number 1 in America, we should have the coach on in Philadelphia.
Yeah, right.
The room goes silent. Tom Bigby looks at Chuck Cooperstein and says, in front of everyone, this is a grown man, mind you, okay?
Yeah,
he says, Chuck, you are the single worst sports talk show host I've ever heard in my life, and I've been in radio for 25 years. The mere fact that I allow you on my radio station is nothing more than the act of charity. Here's your 30-day notice. Go get a job because you won't have one in 30 days. And the room is in stunned silence. And Chuck goes, but it's a big, and he wants to say story, all right? And Bigby goes, if you utter another word in this meeting, that 30-day notice becomes 30 minutes. And Chuck Cooperstein was out of that building in 29 days. 29 days. He did his last show at WIP. And the reason I bring that up is, while Philadelphia has become a better sports town in these last 30 years since Tom Bigby decided what we talked about, and obviously the Sixers became very relevant, not just for diehard basketball fans, and the Phillies, to their credit, have become very relevant because of their success in the 2000s. There was a time in the mid-'90s where I'm sure the early 80s was the exact opposite, but there was a time in the mid-'90s where Philadelphia, pardon the phrase, was a one-trick pony. It was Eagles and nothing else.
And nothing else. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right about that. Real fast, Craig, if I may, because you talk about your night show with G Cobb. That's the first time I heard you. And I was underage, but I sounded like this, so I called in. They checked the age, and you were doing the Ugly Show with G Cobb. I called in. First time I ever called it to the radio station, and I remember who I said when I called you, and you laughed. I remember I said it was Scottie Pippen. I said it looked like he did a 100-yard dash in a 90-yard gym. And you laughed. I was like 14 or 15. And I called you doing that Ugly Show you used to do. That was something you guys would do at night. Not often, but that would be something you would do to just
It was a twice-a-year show we did, and it was basically just people calling in, telling us who they thought was ugly. And then us commenting on the level of ugliness that those people have. And that show actually cost me a television show on Spectrum TV. I'll tell you that story in a little bit. More coming up after this.
He gives them a chance, but they've got to keep putting people around him. I think he's a very good quarterback. I don't know that he's the one that elevates you all by himself. I think he still needs the help. Excellent player, perfect guy to lead your organization, perfect place for it. And by the way, I'd start him from day one. I wouldn't waste any time on it. But got to put pieces around him, and John Spytek has already started doing that.
Outspoken with Dan Cilio. Only on SportsGrid.
This is the third time he's been medically checked. Even the refs coming over. He's like, dude, like come on. Like after every sort of play in front of the net, the kind of goal he's done. He's on the
jumping.
He's on the turf, like we said. Like he's like driving off the top rope. Look at him here again. I give him credit. He's freaking fearless.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Are you ready for el verano más futbolero de tu vida? Latination Football Club turns into Copa Nation, our live stream experience every day, de lunes a viernes, 11 a.m. Pacific and 2 p.m. Pacific as well. Checking in after the games. In that slot between games, we got you, my friend. We're going to have celebrities, legends of the game, content creators, and a bunch of our friends that are going to keep you entertained and informed, letting you know what's happening all across the 3 countries that are going to be experiencing this crazy, crazy football tournament. Don't miss it. Copa Nation right here on Latin Nation every day. Check it out.
Craig Carton Show. Tyrone Johnson here as well. Everybody's coming out to the support now of Carlos Mendoza, the Met manager. It's interesting to me. Gary Cohn, the longtime play-by-play voice of the New York Mets, quote, he's probably the least culpable of everybody that has contributed to this morass of a season that the Mets are in, ... But they had to do something. This is the move that teams make. Like then you have Harry Rose, the longtime radio voice of the New York Mets in his last season as play-by-play voice of the New York Mets, stepping down after a great run. The Mets managerial change felt inevitable following Wednesday's doubleheader debacle, but please don't lose sight of the fact that however much blame he's charged with for this season, he deserves twice as much credit for the run in 2024. All right. He's a wonderful man and a pleasure to work with. I'll say that about Carlos Mendoza. I've had him on my show many times. Is a good guy. But not to be cavalier about that part of it, so what? Like, so what? He's a good guy. Like, he's going to get paid, which is good. No one's taking his money away from him. He was an interesting choice when they made the choice back in the day to hire him. And there's a guy out there that I've long advocated for to be the New York Mets manager, who's actually back in New York, managing an independent team now, that I would hire in a second. And that's Wally Backman. I would hire Wally Backman. I would have hired Wally Backman to be the interim manager because Wally Backman, look, the season's a wrap. I'm not suggesting they make this miraculous second-half run and get into the playoffs and win a World Series, and we treat him like we treat Mike Brown now as the Knicks head coach, and he walks on water. But he would have straightened everybody out. Now, I can't speak to, was it Andy Green, who's taking over now as far as his temperament as a manager, because I honestly don't know. But I do know Wally Backman. Wally Backman would have walked into that dugout today and said, playtime is over, boys. Playtime is over. Everybody is now being held accountable. And that's what I love about Wally Backman. Again, no guarantee of winning games, but I'm not even sure it matters anymore. But you've got a bad atmosphere in that clubhouse. You've got a country club approach to playing baseball. And you need a guy to come in there and tear some people new rear ends. And Wally Backman would have did that.
Now, how long does that really work, though, Craig? Like, we've seen that people try
for the next 3 months.
And then not have them back for next season.
Well, I think it depends on how the team responds to it. You know, the other thing about this is the guy that's now got the target on his ass, rightfully so, is the guy that hired Mendoza and the guy that put this direct together. And that's David Stearns, because at the trade deadline last year, he was over. He whiffed on every decision he made at the trade deadline last year. And remember, on June 18th, the New York Mets had the best record in all of baseball last year.
Yep.
In the second half, they had the worst record. And that's based on all the moves that he made, David Stearns, right? Now you fast forward to this year. And I ask you this. I know you don't follow the Mets as much as I do, being a Phillies fan. Jorge Polanco, no good.
No.
Bo Bichette, who the Phillies want to give a 10-year deal to. They dodged
tried
that
to sign him to play third base. Yep.
Marcus Semien, garbage. Lou Bob hasn't played since early April, right? Freddie Peralta, average at best, right? So it's been one disastrous pick and signing after another. And that's the guy that really should be on the hot seat. But I believe on good authority that David Stearns is coming back next year. I do not think David Stearns gets relieved of his duties.
Where's the accountability then? Where's the accountability? Because you just mentioned accountability for the players and having a tough interim manager. But if the GM's not going to give that manager anything to work with, it's not going to work. And here's the thing about the Bichette move. There were multiple players this offseason that the Mets were allegedly second on. And then the Phillies were going to sign Bichette, and they signed him basically saying, well, we have to get somebody. And that was a disaster too. That's not a GM with a plan. For me, he's the one who should go now. he clearly can't get it done. We saw what happened in Milwaukee, so be it. But here, he can't get it done in the big city. And that farm system, he's brought up 1,000 rookies, and all they do is lose. They don't have 1,000 more rookies to bring up. How do you keep him long term? If you want to keep him now through the end of the season, but how does he come back, Craig, and you look these fans in the eye and say that it's all good?
You're right. And here's the other part about it. Like, he got a 5-year, $50 million contract. He makes $10 million a year. Next year will be year 4. He's obviously coming back for next year. And then the question is, he becomes kind of a lame duck, general manager. Because if you're Steve Cohen, you're not extending him now.
No way.
He's going to get year 4, but you're not going to extend him until you see what he puts together. And I think they're going to start selling off whatever pieces they can sell off. And then the question is going to be, A, who's going to want to come here? And B, who's available to come here?
He gives them a chance, but they've got to keep putting people around him. I think he's a very good quarterback. I don't know that he's the one that elevates you all by himself. I think he still needs the help. Excellent player, perfect guy to lead your organization, perfect place for it. And by the way, I'd start him from day one. I wouldn't waste any time on it. But got to put pieces around him, and John Spytek has already started doing that.
Outspoken with Dan Cilio, only on SportsGrid.
This is the third time he's been medically checked. Even the refs coming over. He's like, dude, like come on. Like after every sort of play in front of the net, the kind of goal he's done. He's
stop jumping.
He's on the turf, like you said, like he's like driving off the top rope. Look at him here again. I give him credit. He's freaking fearless.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Are you ready for el verano más futbolero de tu vida? Latination Football Club turns into Copa Nation, our live stream experience every day, de lunes a viernes, 11 a.m. Pacific and 2 p.m. Pacific as well. Checking in after the games. In that slot between games, we got you, my friend. We're going to have celebrities, legends of the game, content creators, and a bunch of our friends that are going to keep you entertained and informed, letting you know what's happening all across the 3 countries that are going to be experiencing this crazy, crazy football tournament. Don't miss it. Copa Nation right here on Latin Nation every day. Check it out.
Carton Show, Tyrone Johnson here as well. Did you watch the soccer last night, Tyrone? Did you watch Team USA? I think they lost to Turkey. Yay! You did watch it?
Yeah, they lost 3-2, unfortunately, in the 98th minute.
Tough game. It's a tough loss for us. Game didn't mean a damn thing, right? We're playing against, don't say it because I have a tough time pronouncing it. It's like Belarus, Herzegovina, something like that. I think they're the people that started World War I anyway, right? Is that what it is? Or is that where the Archduke Ferdinand was from, and someone shot him, and that's how World War I started in Bosnia, Herzegovina, or something like that? Like, how do we not, like, they have enough people living there to play soccer that and they're good enough that they advance to the round of 32?
Well, real fast, Craig, fun fact, you've been very upset about Team Italy not making it to the World Cup this year.
Yeah,
the main reason they lost, the reason they didn't make it is because
they're not very good.
No, Bosnia beat them in the qualifying match, and they're the ones who knocked Italy out.
Oh, so we're going to lose to Bosnia? Is that what you're saying?
No, I didn't say that. I said they knocked Italy.
Even though soccer's not our sport as a country, which it's not. I mean, we could pretend like it is for, I guess, a month every 4 years. But it's not. Like, we've no chance to win the World Cup. So let's not even, if we beat Bosnia, we play Egypt. And, Egypt, probably be. And then we get to we're in the Elite Eight. And then, Spain, hey, I just saw Ecuador beat Germany. So why can't we're not winning. All right? We're not winning. So enjoy while it lasts, but it might end on Wednesday, July 1st, next Wednesday, when we play against Bosnia-Herzegovina.
Or it'll continue after a big win, hater. Like you're rooting against America.
I want us to win. I'm going to watch it. I'm going to root for us. Yeah, I'm an American. But I'm not going to root for us like I got up not as early as I should have gotten up for Team USA versus Team Canada. That game was in Italy, as you may remember, but it was like 7 a.m. here. I got up for the third period, which, as it turns out, is all I needed to watch. Yeah, I wasn't like set the alarm clock on a Sunday morning, my only day to sleep, and get up at 6:45 so I could go down to the living room by myself and watch us play hockey against Canada. So I woke up when I woke up,
my alarm.
and I watched the third period. Like, I'm not getting up early to watch Bosnia play against us in soccer on July 1st, whatever that game is.
USA.
Yeah,
but
if it's a nighttime game, I'm all in. But I'm not getting up at like 5 o'clock in the morning to watch Team USA play soccer. I'm not doing that. That being said, I appreciate that for a short period of time, you're now a soccer fan. I have a couple questions, if I may. Number one, we couldn't do any better than Paris Hilton bringing the ball out for the kickoff thing.
You bite your tongue,
yes, she
mister.
looked good, but
she looked great.
She's like, 50.
45 years old. She looked great. Okay.
When's the last time Paris Hilton was relevant in this country? We couldn't get Tate McRae out there? Right?
No, you can't get Tate McRae out there.
We couldn't get, I don't know.
Who you
I don't
want?
like Sabrina Carpenter as much as Tate McRae. We couldn't get Tate McRae out there? We couldn't get Sydney Sweeney out there?
No,
we
she's
couldn't
busy.
get the girl that wakes up ugly but goes to bed hot, who got kicked out of the garden because she left her seat.
She's not American.
Emily Ratajkowski. We
She's
couldn't
not
get
American.
Emily Ratajkowski.
She's not American.
Yeah,
Are you sure?
Guys,
With that
come on.
name?
I haven't done the research on that. Oh, that's
I don't
right. I
believe
have
you
done
have.
the research.
I don't know if you have.
Tate
Where
McRae's
was she
Canadian.
born?
Tate McRae's out. Sorry about that. Can't
Yes,
have
so
her.
there you go. And where's this now? I got to look it up on my phone. Are you sure? Because I can't trust you blindly.
Who? Emily Ratajkowski?
Where's Emily Ratajkowski
She's
from?
as
Where's she
American as
from?
you are. I don't.
With
I
that
think
name.
she's from like Ohio. She's American. Yeah, of course she's American. You guys
She's
think I
born
don't
in
do
London.
my research?
Born in London.
She was not born in London. So you have
I'm
to
looking
stop
at it.
making stuff up.
Born into American parents.
Emily
She's born in London.
Ratajkowski
She's born
is
in
as
London.
American as you and I are.
Born in
She's
London.
a United Kingdom
Born in
born,
London.
California raised model. She's
yes,
as
so you can't have her. I don't want her.
she's
I
as
knew she wasn't with
American
that
as
name.
we are. My people are from
Yes, she
Romania. Your people are from France. Like, we're Americans. All right, we
Okay.
are. Where are your ancestors from?
Man, I don't know. We didn't come here for free will.
Yeah, stop it. You have
What are
like
you
you
talking
told me
about?
your grandma was Russian or something.
No, I didn't say that. No, I
You
didn't
once
say
told me
that
your
at all.
grandmother used to make pierogies all day. That she was a
No.
Russian immigrant.
First,
No?
I thought pierogies were Polish.
Yeah, you might be right about that. You know
What are
what?
we doing?
I apologize. I confused your grandmother for my grandmother. My
Oh,
grandmother
well,
made pierogies. That's right. I sometimes mess up my grandmother for your grandmother. My apologies to the late Miss Johnson. Sorry.
Now, listen, Craig, I got to ask you this, though. This
Yes.
Team USA, if you look at the numbers, I know ratings aren't everything, but a lot of people are attending these games. A lot of
Yeah.
American people are watching these games, and Team USA is on to the knockout stage. But it seems like you don't want to join us in the excitement while at the same time calling yourself Mr. Soccer. I'm trying to find out why you are putting cold water on all of this. Why are you not as excited about it as the average sports fan?
No, I
because bars
think-
are packed with this.
I think this run has been great, and I recognize obviously the stadiums are all packed and sold out. Mostly Europeans, not us. It's still
Yeah,
fine.
fair.
It's like fun to watch, obviously. And I also respect the fact that we've done something we've only done, I think, one other time in our nation's history. We just get to the round of 32. So I'm obviously supportive of that. I'm also Mr. Soccer. Everyone knows that. I played with Pele. Who else can raise their hand and say they actually played with Pele? I did, and I can prove it. That being said, it's a fair question because I'm Mr. USA around here, and
Normally.
but I've been, I'm 35 years old. All right.
What?
And in the course
How'd
of my
you play
entire
with Pele
lifetime,
if you're 35?
yeah, the
You have
only
to be older than
team,
that.
yeah, the only team that I've ever seen in my lifetime that really crossed over and made me want to watch everything they did were the New York Cosmos. And I'm going back to the late 70s on that. And that was a
As a
team, and you're going to have
35-year-old.
to take my word for it. While the Yankees were winning World Series in 77, in 78, the reality is that the New York Cosmos were the biggest, most popular team in all of New York. They were bigger than the Knicks. They were bigger than the Yankees. They were bigger than the Mets, quite obviously, in the late 70s. They were bigger than hockey. And I know it's hard for people to understand that and swallow that. But for a 2-year period, the New York Cosmos, the best comparison I can give you, they were the Beatles. They sold out every game at Giant Stadium, 80,000 people every single game. And they had guys like Giorgio Canaglia and Franz Beckenbauer and Werner Roth, and obviously the great Pele. So that's my comp. Beyond that, as a kid that was the second highest ranked player in the state of New York in high school and was offered college scholarships to play soccer, every 4 years, I bought into the notion that this was going to be the year that Team USA did something special. And every 4 years, it was a reminder that we suck at soccer. So all of a sudden, fast forward to this year, and it's on American soil, and this USA team has done something only one other Team USA has ever done, and that's get to the round of 32. But in my heart of hearts, it's like, you can only lead me to water and then have me drink sand so many times. So I don't know. I guess I don't want to be bamboozled again. And being the guy that knows more soccer than everybody else in this country, who should be on the Fox pregame show next to Alexi Lalas to humanize him a little bit and tell Americans how soccer's played in easily understandable terms, I sit back and I go, I'm not allowing myself to buy into the dream that we're going to the World Cup final at MetLife Stadium on July 19th. So will I watch it? Probably. Am I really, really into it? Not yet. Guilty as charged.
This is wrong, Craig. You're a Knicks fan. You just saw 53 years of pain
Yes, you're right.
get erased
You're right.
by one special team when they were not favored to win. And now all of a sudden we have Team USA out there doing things that, according to you, we've never done before. We want our group despite our loss, and you don't have the temerity to join us. You're wrong, Craig. You're wrong.
Carton Show. Tyrone Johnson here as well. You know, sometimes we can all agree that there's certain quotes that we live our lives by, and it's appropriate for people that we know, or even sometimes ourselves. So today's quote that I'd like to reference that I appreciate that someone's living their life by is from the movie Forrest Gump, okay? And the and the quote is, if I may, all right. Do you know the quote that starts with the word stupid?
Yeah.
Stupid? What's
Yeah.
Stupid is
Stupid
as stupid does. Okay?
Yeah, that's right.
Meaning, if you're stupid and you want to be stupid, just keep being stupid. And there's an aspect to that I actually respect, I have to say, that if you want to go down with the ship, the stupid ship, at least you're consistent with who you are. Like, because I'm at a point now in my life, considering the things that I've done, the things that I've experienced in my life, where you just got to own who you are. You can't apologize to everybody. And if you make mistakes, I think some are worthy of an apology. And then at some point, you got to go live your life. You have to live your life for you. You can't live your life for anybody else, okay? Tyrone, you missed out on the single greatest walk-by in the 9-10 months we've done this show. You picked a bad day to be home with the single greatest walk-by in the history of the Carton Show just happened. Is that not true? Yeah. All right. In any event, I want to give the homophobic former baseball player Aubrey Huff credit for double downing on stupid. Because he is who he is. Apparently, he's got people that seem to be lifting him up and supporting him, which is, I guess, fuel for his hatred right now. But he put out another tweet yesterday that came after our show, after his hateful tweet about homosexuality and how it's offensive to him, and it's a mental health issue, and how dare baseball have Pride Night, all the nonsense that he put out there. Obviously, I took my shot at him. You can take your shots back at me. You do all day anyway, so I'm pretty thick-skinned about it. But I want to appreciate stupid for stupid, because you have to just applaud stupidity sometimes, because you're stupid and you're acknowledging that you're stupid. So after all the kerfuffle that happened yesterday with his comments on Buster Posey and the San Francisco Giants and Pride Night and all that stuff, which was just patently offensive to me, at least I know, and I recognize, because I've gotten a lot of tweets from it, there's still a segment of our society that agrees with stupid and decided to attack me. And I was called every gay slur in the book over the last 24 hours because of my support of the concept of gay Pride Night, or the support of, gay people who want to watch a baseball game in peace, which they should be allowed to do, right?
Let them watch a game. Let them live their lives, right?
But I do appreciate the consistency of stupid. Aubrey Huff, for me, a man I've never met, and I'd never heard of him. He's a World Series champion. How could you have never heard of him? Because I can't name every World Series champion player of all time, and I own that. Nor does that make me less of a baseball fan. So, yes, he's a multiple World Series champion. Good for him. Now, he doubled down on stupid. And this is what he said, okay? He and people like him are fed up with the nonstop gay fatigue. His words, not mine. That's what he wrote. All right.
Okay.
He also goes on to say that he appreciates that people refer to him as an intolerant, homophobic piece of S, and a bigot, which he's all of the above as well. All right. Then he ends his little post by saying, "It was quite a powerful and amazing feeling to know I have the power to alter the minds, control the emotions, and absolutely ruin the day for an entire army of meat pushers." His words, not mine. And I'm just going to let that sit out there. Because sometimes stupid doesn't need anybody else to comment on it. So I'm done talking about Aubrey Huff. I'm done talking about how offensive and objectionable the things he has said now repeatedly in multiple rants, like absolutely unhinged rants. Like, it's one thing in the height of emotions to verbalize something that you might want to take back, or to say something that somebody might find offensive in the heat of the moment. We've all done it at different levels, right? But when you decide to sit down in front of your laptop and type out several thousand words espousing your beliefs against a certain type of sexuality or a certain type of human being, that's not emotional. That's what you truly believe and feel. And there's certain times I think we as members of this great society of ours who disagree with stupid don't have to argue against it. I think there are times, and this is one of them, where just let it be. Let it be exactly what it is, and let people come across those comments, recognize those comments to be the stupidity that they are, and just let it live. Because I don't need to ever utter the words Aubrey Huff ever again for the rest of my life. And I'll let his words define who he is, and let the rest of you make your own judgment decision on what type of guy he is. So Aubrey Huff, congratulations. You have proven to us, in the immortal words of Forrest Gump, stupid is what stupid does. You are the king of the stupid. Congratulations on that. Tyrone?
Yeah, you know, and he'll try to come back with the Bible. He'll try to come back with the Bible, and that's what makes me mad about this. Is he'll try to use religion for, forget him, like you said. Let's not talk about him. People like him try to use the Bible for stuff like this, and I don't think God wants any parts of these kind of arguments right now. When you have someone stupid like that, I wish we could put people like him on Stupid Island where he belongs. And all of him and everybody that thinks like he could just go live on their island all by themselves and leave regular people alone, because we actually have other things to do in our lives than to go around intentionally hating people who didn't do anything to anybody else, which to me is the part that bothers me. The fans in San Francisco who went to that game didn't do anything wrong. Why are you spending thousands of words, to your point, Craig, hating on people who didn't do anything wrong other than go watch a baseball game? That's all they did. And live a life that he doesn't agree with. Leave people the hell alone, just like you would want people to leave you alone. I don't understand it. Those people didn't do anything to Aubrey Huff. They went to a baseball game.
Exactly
That's all they
right.
did.
So I'm going to leave it alone. You can read the words if you want to. You know how I feel about it.
He gives them a chance, but they've got to keep putting people around him. I think he's a very good quarterback. I don't know that he's the one that elevates you all by himself. I think he still needs the help. Excellent player, perfect guy to lead your organization, perfect place for it. And by the way, I'd start him from day one. I wouldn't waste any time on it. But got to put pieces around him, and John Spytek has already started doing that.
Outspoken with Dan Cilio. Only on SportsGrid.
This is the third time he's been medically checked. Even the refs coming over. He's like, dude, like come on. Like after every sort of play in front of the net, the kind of goal he's done.
Yeah.
He's
stop jumping.
He's on the turf, like you said, like he's like driving off the top rope. Look at him here again. I give him credit. He's freaking fearless.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Are you ready for el verano más futbolero de tu vida? Latin Nation Football Club turns into Copa Nation, our live stream experience every day de lunes a viernes, 11 a.m. Pacific and 2 p.m. Pacific as well. Checking in after the games. In that slot between games, we got you, my friend. We're going to have celebrities, legends of the game, content creators, and a bunch of our friends that are going to keep you entertained and informed, letting you know what's happening all across the 3 countries that are going to be experiencing this crazy, crazy football tournament. Don't miss it. Copa Nation right here on Latin Nation every day. Check it out.
Ray Carton show. Remember that heavyset gal who's the DEI hire at JP Morgan stole that Nick colored trash can in New York City during the parade? She actually looks like my radio partner a bit, except she had like cornrows, like she just got back from the Bahamas.
Yeah.
Like everybody know that has hair. Maybe not you, Tyrone. That goes to like Jamaica or the Bahamas, comes back and like they have the island in their blood, man, and they get their hair cornrowed. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I never did that because I'm bald, obviously.
Yeah.
But that gal, she was and I'm not saying that to make fun of her. It was in the newspaper story. She was a DEI hire at JP Morgan, and I think led their inclusive program or something.
She was a DEI officer. She wasn't a DEI hire.
Yeah, right. DEI, JP Morgan. So anyway, they fired her for stealing the trash cans. What's funny about that is you have to assume that just by proxy of being a JP Morgan, she's making $100,000 a year. I mean, that's just a fair guess, right?
Oh,
so
yeah.
Think about what she did. On camera, she picks up a loaded trash can on a street corner of New York City and dumps the garbage filled to the top of it onto the sidewalk while being filmed, and then kind of walks her fat ass down the street, really proud of herself that she's stealing a Nick-colored trash can, right?
Yeah,
that
she put it on the subway
her,
with it.
Yeah, and she went on the subway and took it home. That decision cost her an annual salary of $100,000, right?
Yeah.
It also makes her unhireable for a lot of companies, at least in the same sector, who might know who she is. So let's just say she's a $500,000 decision to put that garbage on the streets of New York City. New York City Sanitation is selling those trash cans for $100.
He could have just bought them. You could have just bought it.
She could have bought a clean one, a new one, had it delivered to her house via Federal Express for $100. Instead, she steals one, loses her job, and it costs her about $500,000 in salary.
Yeah. And then what's funny is people are going, oh, go ahead.
Also, I think, if I may, is a pretty good example of why we should not use DI anymore.
See, this is where you go too far. This woman was not a DEI hire.
Let me go back to Aubrey Huff.
That's a white woman.
That's another example of stupid is what stupid does.
Yeah, stupid is what stupid does. I don't understand it. Now, what do you say to the people out there that say that they shouldn't have filmed her and put it out there? Because that's been an argument that that woman was on the street. Yes, she was doing something, but it wasn't that person who records his trash can. It wasn't their property. There are people that are making the argument that you should have cropped it down to not show her face to not get her in trouble. That's out there.
I am notoriously anti-rat. Both the little critters and the people that become rats, all right? I'm anti-rat, as everybody knows, pretty well documented based on my past, right?
Yes.
My gut is, I think she wanted the attention. I think she knew the cameras were there because there's people around her, and what she's doing is so crazy. And then, you could have hopped in an Uber. You could have gotten a yellow cab. She got on the subway. More people.
She did.
She wanted the attention. And you know why?
The other part is
she's like, I'm DEI. I'm safe. Ain't nobody gonna fire me.
No. Like, the other part is, I would have respected it if she had the big black, the leaf trash bags, dumped all the trash into the bag, and then took the can. Then I'm like, you know what? What are we doing here?
I would say this.
Because I understand wanting a can. But
If
dumping it on the ground makes me bad.
If she had did that, politely put the garbage in a garbage bag, tied it up, left it on the street corner, I got no problem with that.
See,
it's
that's
the
what I
fact
think
that
she
she
should have done.
dumped the garbage all over the streets and then walked away or kind of waddled away like a fat pet to her lair with her latest catch.
That was my issue with that. Because somebody else had to go clean that up. That was rude by her. If she had cleaned up her own trash, I would say let her keep her job and no trouble.
There you go. So real quick, just programming note. While we made some stuff on social media in the next couple weeks, I've only taken 1 day off since we started this show in September. Tyrone, I think, only because of illness, took a day off because he was going to get everybody sick. And he still may have done the show from home that day, right?
Yeah, I did. I've been grinding with you.
Did you taken a vacation day?
I didn't take a single one.
And I took the 1 day when my son graduated college. So our staff, same thing. Well, most of our staff's taking a lot of vacation, actually. Ryan and Ethan take off like every other Wednesday. In any event, we will not be on for the next couple weeks. When we resurface, we'll have a lot of exciting things to tell you about, and very much appreciate your support of the Craig Carton Show and Tyrone Johnson. Have a great weekend. Much more to come later this year.